Well, good morning, Michelle. How are you this
Good,
morning?
good morning, Ellen. I'm here.
Good. And so am I.
There we go.
Yeah, we made it after a few little hiccups again. You think
Oh,
by the end of this series, I think we'll probably have it down pat.
we might. We
Yeah,
might. Yeah.
absolutely. Well, good morning, everyone. And I'm Ellen Crowley, and I'm joining you from my office, but I am representing the Valley Regional Hospital Foundation. And we're here this morning with Michelle MacIsaac from Clannad Counselling to talk about mind matters. And if you
Yeah.
joined us earlier in the month, you know that we're going to feature mental health and wellness issues throughout this year. And in conversation with Michelle earlier, we thought we would be focusing a little bit on some of the challenges that we have dealing with the pandemic. So our first session was about pandemic fatigue. And today we thought we'd explore some of the challenges that people may be experiencing related to parenting during a pandemic. So,
Mhm.
Michelle, I was sitting here with my coffee while I waited for you to come on. And I was thinking, as a mom who had 4 young children under the age of 6, I can't even begin to imagine what it would have been like to have that busy household as well as trying to homeschool kids.
And work.
And work. And work outside of the home as well. I
Right.
know, right.
Right. Right. And it's an interesting journey. Last spring I had two children in school. I had one in primary and one graduating. So she was in grade 12. So straddling two school programs and working full time, both my husband and I, was a huge strain and challenge, like so many parents right now. It's exhausting. And then, we kind of found a rhythm and things sort of resumed to somewhat normal. And then this round of lockdowns happened. And I don't think it's just our household. I think in general, it feels heavier. It feels um more challenging. Our kids, I think, are more anxious on the whole. And, the teachers are doing a fantastic job, but the balancing act is a constant struggle.
Mm,
And I circle back to sort of that idea we had last time about permission.
yes.
And for me, the strategy or goal for managing things this time around is all the permission to just half-arse things, and that's okay.
It's
I
good. It's good enough.
It's good
It's
enough,
good
right?
enough.
It's about meeting that good enough threshold and recognizing when it's okay to just stop, and when it's okay to cancel something, or just sit and cuddle your child, or skip a class that day, or picking battles. Those are all pieces that are part of surviving this
Right.
this phase of life right now.
And what kinds of things you talked about the anxiety, and I think
Mhm.
probably parental anxiety, but also children anxiety and how that might be looking very different than what you'd normally see.
Yeah. And so kids are funny little critters, and they don't always respond to stress like adults do.
Mm,
They don't have the same tools, they don't have the same skill set, and depending on what things look like pre-pandemic, there could be a lot of challenges in households just around that anxiety. And anxiety can look like sibling meltdowns, it can
mm,
look like temper tantrums, it can look like tummy pain, it can look like refusal to eat things, it can look like toileting accidents, disruption of sleep,
right.
nightmares. It can look like so many different things, and as a parent it can be really confusing to even know what's going on, or how do I make this better, how
Trying
do
to
I.
sort it out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's interesting because I remember when my children were in school, when the weather started, I'm looking out my window, the weather started to get, really nice.
Mhm.
And thankfully, we've had a few wet days.
Mhm.
But, I used to say, especially the older kids, come the middle of May, they lose their minds anyway. So it's really and truly, and especially when they're in that grade 11, grade 12.
Mhm.
So how do we help them, focus and push through it, I guess, because I get the sense that that's what a lot of people are doing. We're just trying to get through this piece.
Yeah. And I think that sort of that philosophy of we need to push through is actually part of what's driving people nuts.
Okay.
That there's this expectation that we have to push through this, or bad things are going to happen. We're rule followers, right? So when my teacher sends me, this is the schedule, then I try to fit it all in. And if I've got 3 or 4 children at home, or even 2, or high needs children, or a tough job, or my own mental health isn't stellar, those things become real challenges for families. And, what I always say, regardless of the age of our children, as parents, we are the grounding tool.
Mm,
Our relationship with our children is what keeps our kids grounded and feeling okay. And so it's a lot like if you're in a plane and the pressure changes, the first thing you do is put the mask on yourself, right?
right, right.
This is a key time as parents to give ourselves permission to just get through this. It's a great time to give ourselves permission for outdoor breaks, self care, finding opportunities to step away from the chaos, maybe inside the house, have an opportunity to sit outside and listen to the birds on a regular basis. Because as parents, if we are out of our comfort zone to the point that we are disconnected, our kids are going to feel that, and their behavior is going to reflect that lack of connection. So, for me, one of the ways that I cope with some of that is to put in some kind of a routine, a predictable kind of expectation with lots of buffers. But a part of that is outdoor time for my kid every day, outdoor time for me every day, family connected time every day. I don't care if it means that she misses XYZ.
Mhm.
It's a necessity. And that we stop and have coffee break together, whatever that looks like. So there's touchstones, there's opportunities for us to plug in with time with our kids,
Okay,
play
right.
together, enjoy
Yeah.
each other.
What about from the perspective of communication? Because when you're talking about the example of flying, it
Mhm,
resonates with me because I hate to fly. I've flown a lot, but I still have fear of flying.
mhm.
That's a whole other story. But when you're talking about putting the mask on and whatever, I know for myself, when I flew with my children,
Yeah,
I didn't want to transmit that fear because I
right.
didn't want them to have fear of flying. But in this instance, is it do you feel that it's okay to say, "Hey kids, I'm feeling anxious too,"
Mhm.
and sort of validate those feelings, or is the better strategy to be, I'm just going to show them the calm mom, that I'm coping.
I think kids are smarter than that. I think they I think they know
You
when
mean
we're
they
faking
you
it.
mean they knew I was terrified
I
in the
think they
air?
do. I think they do. And it's a so there are some ways we can mitigate some of that anxiety and fear. Inevitably, we're all feeling some of that, as numbers went up, as things changed again, as we had to revert back to homeschooling and all those pieces, worries about so many things, finances, food security, all kinds of things, and housing. And so it's unrealistic to think that we aren't going to be anxious around our children. Um, I think what's really helpful is that we remember that we are the support, the foundation, that
Right.
we need to just be solid. That doesn't
Mhm.
mean we need to be stoic. So,
That's
so
interesting,
so that
interesting.
yeah, so that could
Mhm.
look like, recognizing I'm having an anxious day and communicating that with our child and saying, mommy's going to try these things today. Why don't you join me? Because I know I'm having a hard day, and it's
Mhm.
okay to have hard days. Or if our children are in a meltdown, to really empathize with the ridiculous expectations that are upon them to try to find out how to learn in a state of chaos. It's challenging.
It is challenging.
So telling our kids, I get it, I feel the same way, and we're going to be okay, is the message we move toward.
That's good. Tell me, in the time that we have left,
Mhm.
can we talk a little bit about, and I know we're in a pandemic and we're trying to maintain our bubbles and all those good things, but as you know, social networks and support for each other, moms and dads, like we've been talking about moms, but really this is about parents, because
100%. Or
it could,
caregivers of any kind.
right, it could be grandma.
Absolutely.
So those social safety supports and networks have been peeled away a little bit, but I know there are some strategies that we can use to maintain those supports. So in other words, call a friend, that type of idea. I'm having a particularly tough day, Michelle.
Yeah.
The kids are driving me up the wall. I can't get focused and get anything done. And now the dog took off, or something like that. It's just one of those complete, and the plumber's at the door, as you say, so it's a complete meltdown day and I'm losing it. Help.
And one, it's okay to lose it. And two, this idea of it takes a village to raise a child didn't come from nowhere. There is absolute validity in that. We aren't meant to parent in isolation. We're meant to parent with a community of people. And for some of our families, that's a really tough challenge right now, because they may not have access to media. They may not have access to the formal supports they usually do. What I would say is, if your children are connected to school, there are supports and services. You can reach out to the school administration for more formal resources. They still exist. They are still there. There's even food insecurity pieces that are being taken care of. So, if you're worried about food, there are programs that are still being run through schools in our region.
And we have opportunities for teenagers to call. We have the kids helpline if they want to just talk to somebody, if they're having a bad time.
Yeah. And adolescence is another we could have a whole segment.
We could have a whole segment on
in
adolescence.
fact, I'm half tempted to just sort of say let's push pause on that.
Sure.
It's a different it's a I wouldn't say it's more challenging. It's a differently challenged population, and our adolescents are really struggling.
Yeah.
And I think there's lots of good reason for them to struggle, but there's also ways that I think as parents or caregivers, we can support them. And some of that might just be dragging them out of their room and getting them outdoors,
like in regular times, come out of the basement. Well, let's leave it at that. Thank you very much, Michelle. This has been great. I just want to close with saying we do have resources on our websites. Both the Valley Regional Hospital Foundation website lists some resources. And your website at Clannad is far more robust than ours is, I will say, with pointing people to resources. I checked that out last week. It's excellent. So we want to encourage folks who are watching to check out those resources. We have been listing things as well on our Facebook page that are available through Nova Scotia Health, that are free resources, and point you to those. We will be showing you at the end of this the contact information, but I'll just say it in any event. Our website is info@vrhfoundation.ca, and yours, Michelle, is?
Our website is clannad.ca.
Wonderful. So you can reach us either by emailing the email address that I just gave you, or looking on our website. Check out Facebook. We would love to hear your ideas and your feedback about the webinar, so that we can move forward and really deliver something to you that's worthwhile.
Exactly.
So thank you very much, Michelle, and I'll see you later.
Thanks, Ellen.
I hope your plumber comes.
Me too. It never ends.
Okay. Goodbye.
Take care. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.